Hey, welcome back to It's All Bad. It's Keith. This week we have Horace, who I've known 20 some years. Um, Soccer thugs, bars, prisons. It's going to be a great one. Welcome back to It's All Bad.
Hey, there he
Hey.
is.
Hey, Horace, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, mate?
Good. I haven't seen you in years.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a long time.
The book is great.
Oh, thank you.
I was telling these guys because I'd met you 20 years ago and I didn't even know all that stuff. Wild.
Yeah. Strange things.
Yeah. Mike, did you shave your mustache?
I did. I was. We were. Someone mentioned they were like, "Yeah, you should have some fun with your beard in lockdown. Like it doesn't matter." And I was on a Zoom, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll try this." And I just went. I went into the bathroom to take a waz, and I was like, oh, "I got the clipper right there. Let's see what Proctor John Mike looks like." Now I just started a little folk band up in Santa Barbara, and we're having a hell of a time. Me and no, I don't know what I'm doing, but I am going to shave my beard because I don't know. I'm nervous that it's going to catch the juice in it.
You got to show Horace your ceiling. Horace, his ceiling of his apartment fell in.
Oh God,
Really?
yeah,
During this COVID shit.
yeah. Here, let's see, and I won't have anybody in here to help me to fix it because I don't want a bunch of friggin' jabronis up in here. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call it skylight.
It's the lath and plaster they call that. You know.
It's beautiful. The set. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
We can live with it for a minute and then we'll get it fixed.
All right. Welcome back to It's All Bad. I'm here with Mike.
Hey,
Hey,
We got
mate.
a great guest tonight, Horace.
Hey guys, hello.
Horace Martin. He has a book out that I highly recommend. It's always great when somebody starts drinking in another country, especially where he's from, because it's like part of the. It's weirdly part of your culture, right, Horace?
I mean, that was what you did. You know?
Yeah, you're weird if you don't drink.
Yeah, in England, that was the whole social thing. You know, the town that I lived in, like St Albans, on a Friday and Saturday night, you would see gangs of youth, 6 and 7 girls and guys going from one pub to the next. It was just like this roundabout of, you know, people socializing. It's not like that anymore now because, you know, that culture is sort of left to, you know, for skiing and, you know, holidays and all that kind of other stuff. But those days, that's all we did. My dad had a pub in London. So, you know, I was like made in heaven. I was,
Yeah.
you know,
How old were you when you started drinking, Horace?
I had to be about 13, 14.
Oh,
and did you work in the pub?
It was like, I pretended I was working. What I was doing was stealing, basically. But yeah, you know, even though my poor father, my poor parents, you know, I just like stealing all the time. You know, money out of the till, booze off the shelves. You know, just kind of a shitty person, really. You know, it's not. But that's, you know, I didn't even know then I was, you know, addicted or an alcoholic or, you know, I just did what I did, and you find out years later, you know, you're recovering for it. You know, the one time I did say I was going to stop drinking, and solemn oath, and it was a Saturday night, and it got to like 8 o'clock, and I just had this real panic. I thought, "Fuck, I'm not going to be drunk," you know. I have to, and so I said, like, so I managed like 2.5 hours of the non-drinking, and and you know, because then you got to catch up with everybody else. So yeah, you know, that's all I did was drinking. You know, it was a real panacea for me.
can you tell us the story about the party you were at when the guy was huffing paint?
That is, yeah, that was Notting Hill, and the movie Notting Hill is like not that Notting Hill that's real. In the movie, I don't think I saw one black person, and there's actually a big community of Jamaicans and, you know, other people that live in Notting Hill, and they had like a carnival each year and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, there was all kinds of stuff up there. So we went to this party, and this guy was in the upstairs window huffing paint, and I got there just after he'd fell. And what he did was he got the bag stuck on his face and then panicked and then fell out the upstairs window and impaled himself on the railing, on the railings. And like nobody helped him. I mean, I did like sort of exaggerate, like, you know, everybody thought it was, you know, people knew it was a real guy, but nobody was like, you know, he was like, yeah, he'll be all right. Of course, it wasn't. Yeah, that actually did happen, you know. Yeah, poor guy.
Was huffing things big?
I never liked that stuff. I did it once when
Me
I was
either.
like, when I had no booze. Booze was my thing. I love booze. So
what was your booze of choice?
well, it's pretty all the same. You under this illusion that vodka doesn't smell, so you know.
Yeah, it does.
So I was like drinking vodka. I'm thinking nobody knew I was drinking, but when it's coming out the pores of your skin, it's alcohol. They can smell it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went with the vodka, but I went through like anything, you know.
Yeah.
If it was alcohol,
Nothing stinks worse than next day whiskey, bourbon whiskey. It's when that's coming through your pores. Like if you've really done a job on it, it'd be like, bro, you got to shower again.
Yeah.
Shower.
The whole thing, man, is like, it's just painful. It's just, you know, when I look back now, you know, it's like, oh my God. I was actually arrested for drink driving, and it was like my third or fourth time, and I thought I was doing pretty good. I jumped out of the car and I was running away, and you know, I found out later I'd only made about 10 steps before they caught me, but I thought I was streaming off down the road. And yeah, so they took me into the police house, and I was like, I'm in desperation now because I've got no booze, and they go, I don't know how long I've been here. So they gave me they fingerprinted me, and then they gave you the swab to wipe your hands. And I drank it. They were not happy about that, you know. I drank
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like they were kicking me and hit me. I wasn't gonna let them get it. I was like, I'm making sure I drank it all. Yeah. That's alcoholic, I think. I don't think that's enjoying your drinking.
How old were you when you started boxing, Horace?
Let's see. That was I started when I was like 14, 15, maybe a little bit younger, just messing around really. And then I boxed a little bit in Luton, in England, Luton Irish. I had like 2 fights, and not all that interested in it. And then I, when I was 18, 19, I went to the United States and was just bored. And so I just started boxing, you know, and they said, oh, we're going to put you in for the gloves. It was in Omaha, Nebraska. And,
really?
And I never knew what the gloves were or anything, you know, and I just went down there, and my sister said, you know, that's a big deal, Horace. You better like check this out. And I didn't take any notice of her. And like,
yeah, golden gloves is no fucking.
Yeah. Oh, it was like, and
those are boxers.
It was like a religion. You
Yeah.
know, and you know, it's sad to say, but you know, I was white too, and they loved that too. So yeah, so I fought for the city title, and I won. I had like 3 knockouts or something on that 2 nights, and then I done the state title for Nebraska, and then I won the Midwest as well. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Was it? This is when you were actively drinking, right, Horace?
I'd stopped. It was kind of weird because I was in trouble in it. It's the whole thing is just like a moving riot, really. I had a fight in England, and I beat up a couple of cops, and so I had to bail pretty quick because I'd just done 6 months for assaulting another policeman, and I really did like, you know, fighting policemen. That was like my party piece. And So my dad says, like, you're going to get some time on this, So it was the 18th of December, which turns out to be quite a big day in my life. And I flew into the Omaha, Nebraska. And then in March, I won the Golden Gloves, which is kind of weird. So, yeah. And then everybody was like talking, like being an alcoholic, you have that like feeling of less than, and then it's for the drinking. So when everybody was saying, "Oh, you're great," and all this kind of stuff, and people were recognizing me and stuff in the street, it was like I didn't know what to do. There's one part of me going, "Yeah, it's about time you like saw how great I am." And there was the other part that was saying, like, you're a piece of shit, man. You're letting all these people down. It's like, so you had that, So it was not. So I hadn't drank in the training process, going up to that first fight. Then I won all the titles and stuff, and then it stopped being exciting. It became like a chore. All the things I've done it was never like a lot. It was just fun to do at the time. I was in the Merchant Navy for a couple of years, and that was fun. But I was no way was I going to spend my life on ships. I just couldn't see it. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it wasn't that. That was just something to do. To go and play. And so I came back to England, and the alcohol progressed. Very quickly, so I spent a lot of time going in and out of prisons and stuff. So yeah. Yeah.
What were you how much were you putting down when you were really going for it?
Oh, when I'm drinking,
drinking.
It's hard because like your tolerance goes really, really good for so many years, and then like after a while, it's like a shot will get you, buckled. I remember I got hold of like 3 big bottles of vodka, and I still had a place to live at that time, and I had none left. I woke up this one day and in this flat, and I went, "Oh, I've got to go down and get some more." And I figured out that I'd started drinking on Sunday night, and I had 3 bottles of vodka. So in my mind, that's like Monday, Tuesday. So today is Wednesday or Tuesday. And I was walking down the hill, and I said to the guy, "Is this Wednesday or Tuesday?" And the guy just looked at me and goes, "It's Saturday." So there's a week gone, and I had no idea,
Wow.
So yeah. I don't even know what I was drinking. I just had to stay drunk. If I woke up and I could see people moving about and living, it was way too much pressure. I just had to get out of that.
Copy that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The shot that gives you the whammy is what I always call it, the flash load. The flash load. You come off a really hot night, and you've had you've done some work. And then, the next day you have that hair of the dog, and if it turns you sideways, it's time to just ratchet the fuck back or stop. Whatever works.
Yeah.
Like that is not a cool thing. I've heard about it from folks who were like, "Yeah, that's not good."
Well, you're fighting the pain. Every time I drank it was like the pain of like being you or being me.
Sure,
like, it's way too much, man. It was like, and then people would say, "Oh, I'd be drunk," and they'd say, "What are you doing about the boxing and stuff like that?" It's just another nail in your coffin, really. You just got to drink some more to forget about that shit. It's like, yeah, And I remember one guy standing in a pub one night, and I was like horribly fat and drunk and, sweating. And the guy started calling me like champ because I'd been boxing and stuff like that. And what I wanted to say was, "Hey, I'm not a champ, man," but I let him do it. I kept letting him say it rather than correct him because I needed something to sort of save me for that night. And that's how far it goes. You know, it'll go right down to the bone, man. You know, it's like, you know, that. And I remember afterwards thinking, you know, champ, you're an idiot. You know, this is just shit. You know, so yeah, it's not
What
good.
weight class did you box in?
I started off, I done middleweight, and I wasn't very strong at that. I was sort of in between. 165 is middleweight. So I went up to light heavy, 175, 172. And it helped a lot because I was faster than a lot of the heavier guys, and I could hit pretty hard. So that's what really, like.
Oh, nice. Light heavy. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You see these guys, they drop a class, and, you know, in fact, I just had a great friend of mine. We just the utmost respect. Dave Clark in England. He was a boxer and the ultimate athlete, and he passed away. He had Parkinson's, and I just thought it was the ultimate insult, because the guy was just an amazing athlete. You know, I wrote a piece for him, and people like, but he was a great guy, man. And I just, like, I was watching him, you know, as the illness progressed. It was just nasty, man. Life is sometimes so brutal, you know. He was just a good guy. And there's another guy, John Ryan. He was a great boxer too, and you know, he ended up, like, he never left his house. He stopped drinking, but he started eating chocolate. And I mean, you might think that's funny, but, like, he was, like, huge. He couldn't go outside anymore, you know. It just, like, it's the addiction coming out, you know, in somewhere else.
Yeah, food, right?
Yeah.
Oof.
Food, gambling. There's so much.
Yeah, gambling, sex.
Yeah.
You know, or you're like a complete dominant in a relationship, or you're dominated in the. You know, I went through all of that stuff. You know, from being the worst to be the tiger. You're never going to be happy. You know, because you're looking for someone else to make you happy. It's not going to happen. You know.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah. You know.
What was the first time you got arrested due to alcohol, Horace?
Oh, alcohol. You know, it's kind of weird because I was arrested, like, when I was 12, 13, but I was doing speed at that time. You know, we used to take speed and go up to London, to Wardour Street. You know, it's where I first saw Eric Clapton and, you know, the Mardi Gras Club and all that kind of stuff. And so that was like 12, 13, but it wasn't drink. It was like speed at that time. Then the drink came.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like I would see these guys, and I'd never felt so fucking happy when I'd done speed. It was like everything that I felt so bad about myself, and, you know, just low self-esteem. You know, there's a lot of abuse as a child, you know, sexual and stuff like that. So you just, when I took some speed, man, I was like, oh, this is it. You know?
Yeah, I know. It's so great that first time.
Yeah. And
There's
then,
nothing like it.
Yeah. Then you're juggling it. You're too speedy, so you got to drink some more. And then, you know, and then you're too drunk, you got to take some more speed. You know, you end up 3 or 4 days hallucinating in a park somewhere. You know, where the hell you are? You know? So, yeah.
I forgot, because you guys had, like, speed was huge in England way before.
Oh, yeah. That was like 67. In fact, there's a story about the Stones doing "You Can't Always Get What You Want," and he was standing in line with Mr. Jennings. Well, Mr. Jennings was a doctor in London, and the speed guys used to go to him, and he would write them prescriptions for, you know, thousands of hits of speed. They'd give him money. So that's where that all came from. And this guy you could get 10 hits of speed for £1 then. And it was like, that was your weekend, you know. I'd go out stealing cars then, and, you know, you're invincible on that stuff, you know.
Was it always, in those days, was it always pills?
No, the holy grail was methadone, which came in these little bottles, like with a little lip on top, you know, like they're pharmaceutical. And then people would put them in like a Coke or something.
Oh, it was liquid or powder?
Yeah, it was liquid. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And,
Oh, I've never seen anything like that. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that was methadone, and then somebody found out that if you put it in a syringe, it worked a lot better. So, you know, you go through that. When you got that, then when you have the syringe stuff, it's like, oh my god, you know, sparks flying out of people's heels and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
Oh wow. What was I going to ask you? What happened to make you finally, you know, get it together and stop drinking?
It's kind of difficult, isn't it? You know, they talk about the incomprehensible demoralization of what happens to us and stuff like that. And, you know, when I first heard that, and I thought, well, that can't be a bad deal, but they don't tell you it's like 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day that it happens. You know, it's like when it gets to that point, you know, you're peeing your pants, you know, you know, and like you're soiling yourself, you're homeless. You know, I was sleeping in a derelict house under the stairs. And I remember one day waking up and going, well, if it stays like this, I'm okay. What you will accept for living with alcohol is like, it's phenomenal. You know, I remember, you know, and the girl I called her, I had a young lady that, you know, she'd waited through prison sentences and like just a wonderful, wonderful girl. And I got out of prison after like 2 years or something. And she left a couple of times within the first 3 months. And then at 6 months, she'd gone altogether. It was done, you know.
Did you go to prison in the States, Horace, or in England?
Oh, in England, yeah. Yeah, I'd done a couple of little things over here, like 30 days here and there, you know. But the one thing that I was wanted for was armed robbery in Omaha, Nebraska. Obviously, I didn't do it, but I didn't want to hang around and wait for it, so I took off. Yeah, that was like 75, 76, and you know, I've been back and, you know, sorted out the huge miscarriage of justice that could have happened there. And so yeah.
Can you give us a crazy story from the mental asylum?
It was with the Drake ward, right? So Drake ward, I didn't know at the time, is a alcohol, you know, for people going in to dry out and stuff. And there was a woman I met when I first went in there was Rosie, and I found her later. She was actually a nurse in the hospital, but every 5 or 6 months she had to spend a couple of weeks on the ward. As to
Oh no,
it's true, absolutely.
No way.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and then she was like sitting there one day. And I said, how come if you're a nurse and you come in? She goes, well, it's just at times I lose my sparkle.
Oh, God bless.
Well, there you go.
The inmates were literally running the asylum.
And here's you want to hear the real fucking weird thing about that? When my dad first moved to St. Albans, we took this pub over called the Bat and Ball, the Bucket of Blood. And it was a rough pub. And there was this guy used to come in, Ian, and he'd go up to the jukebox and put coin after coin after coin after coin into the jukebox and just press random numbers. And the customers were insane with him, you know, because nobody knew what records were coming on. For the next 3 hours, he had this fucking music playing that no one knew was going to be. And he would sit there very quietly at first, just tapping his feet, listening to the music. And then he'd have a couple more beers. And both his legs would be tapping, and then in the end he'd have the empty glass up to his mouth, going shubba-ba-doo-ba-da, dancing around the pub. And my dad was always saying, "That guy, he has a big job somewhere." You know, it was like he's not, you know. So that was in '69. In '82, I was taken into Hill End Hospital, and I'm sitting in the hospital, and I have to go and see the psychiatrist. And I walk into the office, and it's Ian, the guy who was putting the money in the jukebox.
No.
And so then I know it. So, and I was like thinking, oh, he's just going to. I said, and I started laughing at it. Now, whether he knew and was denying it, or whether he didn't know, that it was me from then, but I didn't help my case. I said, the fucking lunatics are running the prison. This is so funny. And he just like totally blanked me, like he didn't, know me or anything like that. And then he said to my father, we're going to have to keep him here for about 6 months, And my dad come back with that news, and I was like, do not do that. Do not do that, whatever you do. And thank God he didn't. I don't think I would have ever got out of there, to be honest, if I'd stayed at that time.
Oh, man.
Gone. They were giving you this medication called epinephrine, and it's actually a lot better than alcohol. So, but they only give it to you for 4 days, and then you're off. It's to stop the DTs and that. So I was stealing. I was breaking into the office to get epinephrine. Then it's like I'm in a lunatic asylum trying to dry out, but I'm stealing drugs. The whole thing. It was obvious I was not going to live long the way I was going. And one of
Epinephrine with an H.
Epinephrine, HEM. I think that's the drug name is epinephrine, and it's really, really addictive.
Yeah.
But it will stop the delirium tremens.
Wow, I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
You can look it up. It's
what a trip. Yeah.
Yeah. It's epinephrine.
It's funny you say H. That was the way my mom says H, and my Irish grandfather always said H. Mm-hmm. Everybody else in the family would say H, but he would say H. And my mom would also say close the light instead of turn the light off.
Yeah.
Right? Off the gas lights. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, gas and petrol.
That's yeah.
All those little things. Yeah, it just addiction will take you, eventually all the way, whatever it is. I just got tired of, everywhere I went there was just this chaos. We were like I was saying earlier on, we went to Germany. I went out on a Friday night. I was living with this girl, and I went out on a Friday night, and I said, I'll be back in a bit. I'm just going to have a few beers. And I went into town, and I met this guy, Brendan Lavery, and another guy, Mick Cowan, and they said, hey, we're going to Germany. I went, oh, fuck, I'll come. So, 2 weeks later, I come back from a loaf of bread. I went to get a loaf of bread and a couple of beers. And then, 2 weeks later, I wake up and I was in Dusseldorf for someone in Germany. And I was actually working in a pub. Total blackout all that time. It's just.
You came to when you were working in a pub?
I was like, I was aware that things were different. Like people were talking a different language and shit. And first of all, I was doing this thing where I was this Irish gypsy geezer reading palms for people, and they were giving me money, and everybody thought I was great. And I had no idea, obviously, of what I was doing. I would just say, oh, something's really bad has happened, and now you're really happy, and it's going to get better, and they give me money. But and then I ended up working as a as a bouncer in the club. It was just chaos. And that Germany trip, like I was with this guy Alan Lyle, and I was just saying, we started off in Groß-Gerau, a little village outside Frankfurt, and started there. And then we had a couple of fights with the locals and stuff. So the guys who were organizing this were from Holland. They were the agents, and they were getting money from the German government to bring English and Irish bricklayers over and work in their things, but they didn't pay the tax. So that's where we're making all the money. And of course we were getting good money too, and no tax. And so, that's how we went. But it was kind of wild. Alan and me and this guy, Alan Lyle, we were everywhere. Drinking. We met this American guy from Iowa. We're on this big mountainside, and the agent came, gave us money, and then he went off. The owner went off. I said to the American guy, go and get a couple of beers, and he come back with cases and cases and cases of beer. And so we got really wrecked. And then like Alan Log, there's these big buckets on the crane, and it swings out over the valley. So where you're close to the ground over here, as you go further out, it's a long way down. Alan gets up in the bucket, and then I take him up to the top of the crane and out over the landscape, and he's hanging out. He's hanging out over the side. Oh man, you should see the view. And then he's looking down and he sees the owner's truck coming up the mountain, so the owner's coming back. He's going to be in big trouble. I was like, fuck him. I get down and start laying bricks again. Alan's up there. And so the owner brings him in. He says, and he goes, what the hell are you doing? And like Alan's excuse was, I dropped my trowel. I had to go up and look for it. So then we were like sent off to another place, and we were sent into the middle of the Schwarzwald, which is the Black Forest, nothing for miles. And that was the last time we went into this little village. There was no one there or anything. We ended up getting in a fight with someone and fell asleep in the afternoon. And next thing you know, there's like 5 or 6 policemen in the room, and they're all got guns, and they're all like, come on, out. And that was it. We were deported.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but that was like the 4th or 5th time that this shit had happened.
Oh, yeah.
And, we were both deported. I went over there with I had a suitcase of clothes, and then I had a case of tools and levels and stuff like that. When I arrived in England back after all I think it was about 12 months we were there, I had a suitcase with a trowel and a T-shirt in it. That was it.
Yes.
That was it, man.
Amazing.
What's the worst experience you've ever had from alcohol, Horace?
The worst is not me, but I was responsible. I told a lie, and I don't know what it was. I was like 16, 17, and I said this guy had hit me, and he was one of the waiters down at this cafe around the corner, and like everybody like in the pub went, oh, somebody's hit her. And so like 10 or 15 guys went down to this cafe and wrecked it. And yeah, and it was a fucking lie. And I sat there and I just didn't have the fucking strength or the moral fiber to say, wait a minute, this is wrong. And what really sealed it all was this girl got hit with a glass on her forehead, and it cut her up pretty bad. So yeah, that was the worst I can think of,
Yeah. You got any prison stories?
Prison?
Yeah.
Okay, no, yeah. Prison, I was in a place called Blandeston, and I was in a lot of prisons. Wandsworth was kind of harsh, but Blandeston was more of it was for violent prisoners, but they were behaving themselves sort of thing, and like, so it wasn't as severe as other, lockdowns. And so I was in there, and if you don't have an angle, like something you can do that's beneficial to things, you're fucked. My thing was I could always get drugs in for some reason. And so I used to supply a lot of drugs in there. And there was it was after Christmas, and after Christmas, there's a real shortage, till the visits and that start up again. So there was a lot of fights going on. And this one day there was like, when the fight goes on, you have to stand against the wall, and the screws go running backwards and forwards to wherever they're going. And, the bell had gone like 6 or 7 times in a day, and this like screws running back. And then at the last time I was standing against the wall, and a screw came running past, and he stopped, come back, and he goes, when is your visit? We got to get some fucking calm in here, man. So they knew, it's just like, they're not going to, well, if it makes their life easier, they're not going to stop it. busting you all the time, you know. And
What's the worst thing you saw happen in prison?
oh, somebody got stabbed. Yeah, dead.
Oof.
Oh, killed?
Yeah, guy got dead. Another guy got stabbed in the eye. That's kind of messy. You know, it's like you can't be sensitive. You know, you got to forget all that stuff. You know,
Was there riot and gangs? I mean, were there multiple gangs?
not as bad as here, I would say, but this was also, you know, 35 years ago. So
Right.
So it wasn't as so many people and stuff, but it was, you know, there was some East End guys there, you know, from London. Yeah. You did, like, I fell out with this one guy and I was like, oh, I am fucked here, you know. And he was like, and we played football, soccer, and I complained at him, can you just fucking kick the ball or something? And that's not what you tell somebody who's like, you know, kind of
a gangster.
Yeah. So I went round his cell afterwards. I said, listen, man, I'm sorry. You know, he went, okay. He let me go. But yeah, on the way up there, I was handcuffed to this guy, Ronnie Diamond, and we were driving up through London to go up to this prison, and I just see him looking out the window, and I was going, do you know this area? He said, that club there, he said, I own that. Then we went up everywhere because that casino is mine too. It was like,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he, you know, and he got like 5 years, and he just, okay. You know, so yeah.
And he had everything you wanted in there?
Oh, and if you know, if you want it, you know, you can have it. You know, it's gonna.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like any normal place outside. You know, you want money and whatever you need.
Have you ever seen a ghost, Horace?
What?
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Ghost?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do a lot of acid around 1970. We were all like into football hooligans and fighting. I support West Ham, and so which are like at that time were the cream of the crop as far as violence was concerned. And so we would take this acid. Acid came to town and speed left. You know, it was like, oh, this is much better than the speed. You know, like, you know, we go sit in fucking graveyards and like by Roman walls, and we would see all this, or think we did, you know, these spirits and stuff. And there was some the pub I lived in was the first coach stop from London on the way to York. Many years ago. So yeah, that pub, there was a lady who would show, and I saw her a couple of times, but then I'm thinking, did I see her or did I wish I saw her, you know? And but this, like, odd things have happened, you know. The weirdest one was like with ghosts and stuff was in Nebraska, and it was just like something way beyond I just like. We met this guy, and he said, oh yeah, come down. I have a building down here in downtown. And he said, come on down, we'll hang out. And so we got out in the car park, and we're talking, and the building's just there. We're getting ready to go into it, and he's talking. And my girlfriend goes, like, quietens us. She goes, listen. And I could hear a baby crying, and she could hear a baby crying. And the guy was like, no, I can't hear a thing. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm pretty high, man, but I can fucking hear.
Yeah.
You know, and he just kept denying. So I said, yeah, well, we're going to go home. You know, when I didn't know what the hell was going on. I did not want to find out either. You know, yeah, it was Nebraska at that time was starting to get real there. There's a guy who was manager of the Embassy Suites. And we went round there. It was typical drug behavior. Went round there for a night.
Oh, you're never at the Embassy Suites unless it's drug behavior.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like,
it was the
we're
whole
going to
thing.
treat ourselves to a nice vacay.
Yeah.
I call Embassy Suites.
Yeah. Ramada. So, but at that time, like, you know, you talk about 70, 73, you know, we were like, you know, it was exciting. And so we went round there, and the manager had this room that was running, and then he took us back to his house one night, and there was like, it was done up like this, like a palace, Caesar's palace, you know, with all these bollards and stuff like that. And then there was fucking drugs everywhere. There's like dishes of coke and speed and like, and I was like, fucking hell. And because I was stealing everything I'd get my hands on. And then, you know, we went back to the hotel and another room. And then there was this guy who
Georgia Center.
Sorry?
Nothing.
Did I miss something? Anyway, this guy was like...
No, but did you hear that? Did you guys all hear that?
No.
What?
No. Just now when you said, did I miss something? Did you hear a garbled sound, like a garbled voice?
Yeah, I thought you'd asked me something.
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, there you go then.
I heard that. I fucking heard that.
You know what? I don't doubt it at all.
It sounded like
yeah, exactly.
And I swear for a moment I was like, did you say that, Mike? And I'm like, no, I didn't say that. I was like, oh, please, I hope you did. But I didn't.
That was
no. Okay. Anyways, keep going.
So anyway, the guy in the bed, he was arguing and shouting and I was like, oh, fucking getting out of here. So we left and then came back an hour later, 3 or 4 hours later, and he was dead. He was like,
what?
Yeah, the guy was lying in the bed shouting and screaming like, he's fucking dead. You know, so they like packed him up and took him to a bus stop.
Oh,
no. I know, it's just like so wrong, but yeah.
They left him on a bus stop?
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do? Yeah, we've got a guy in here with like 3 ounces of coke and, you know, and we're all like fucking high as fuck.
That's kinder. That's much kinder than a ditch.
Yeah.
And less work.
That was in Omaha?
Yeah.
Did you get sober in Omaha or LA?
I started getting sober in England.
Okay.
It was like England. I started, but I came over here like 2 years or so into it, you know. But yeah, I nearly lost it all too, like just getting sober. You know, I'd got into a drama school and all that kind of stuff, and things were going well. And I went to a place called Lanzarote, you know, and it's very quick. It can happen very quick. And these guys said, you know, can you bring some stuff in for us? And I was like, yeah, why not? So, so I stayed in Lanzarote for about 9 months and then came out of it. I was lucky to get away, really. Yeah.
And we're staying clean throughout.
No, I was not. I was doing speed, but not drinking.
Okay. Yeah.
We find these things that will make it okay. If you're an addict, you can say,
"Oh, fuck yeah, of course."
I'm going to smoke pot, but I'm not going to buy any.
Oh yeah,
I'm buying.
Today I'm just going to have some wine.
You know, it's just, you know, it'll catch you. And like, luckily, at the 1989, there was a big party, Christmas party in Lanzarote, and everybody was happy and people were holding hands and there was fireworks, and I looked around and I'm fucking miserable, man. This just sucks, you know. So that was, I started getting sober again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So January 89 was my last drug.
Oh, wow.
31 years.
Huh?
31 years?
Yeah, 31. Yeah, January 89, and it was at a Bruce Springsteen concert, 1985, that I stopped drinking.
That'll sober you up, a Bruce Springsteen concert.
You know,
especially in the mid-'80s, there must have been a lot of that Born in the USA shit going on. That probably just struck the fear right into you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember when that record came out, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah,
I'm like, because I remember what Bruce Springsteen was like in the late '70s, early '80s. Bruce Springsteen, you were like, and then all of a sudden it was just, you know, and of course, everybody in the United States thought that album was like a love letter to the U.S.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, have you heard the lyrics?
Yeah,
Fred?
yeah, yeah. Have you listened?
It sounds like an 80s pop hit, and that's why it's on the radio.
Yeah.
But that shit ain't happy music.
No, and like that was like what the appeal was. I remember first time I heard Jungle Land, it was like, oh my God.
Exactly. In glory days. I have a question, if I might. Just I want the listeners to know more about your book, and so let's talk about it. Lessons. It published in 2019, right?
Yep.
Okay. And
short stories and poems.
And tell folks just a little bit about like what got you to that place to be like, I want to write this book. And
you know what, I have been writing from 1976, and I never wrote for anything else than to stop me killing someone in prison. I just, it was just a thing to, keep me sane.
Sure.
And I could vent my, frustrations of what was going on, and I just kept writing. It's all little pieces from then and now, and situations I was in, and people started saying, you should publish this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, self-esteem and all that, I was like, people are going to listen to this shit, and then, but enough people said, and enough people that I respect and said that, it's good. And a few years ago, I can't remember now, but I met Kister. She was doing this Dear Moon thing. And so I hadn't written for a long time. And then I started writing. There was like a few people who get together and meet in Griffith Park on the full moon and tell little stories. That's how it all started again. And Kister was organising it, and I just fell in love with it. And I would write stories for that and things like that. And it just started coming from that, that was like the impetus again to start all the writing again. And I went back and looked through other poems and other stories, and I've had a lot of very strange things happen to me in life. So from the thing about I was in Wandsworth prison, and I used to stand in the up at the window. I looped the sheet through the bars, and I could stand in the loop and look over the wall, and there was this building across the road, and it was like, oh my God, that's a beautiful building. There was like statues and beautiful brickwork, and I always said to myself, I'm going to go over there when I get out. I'm going over there. And so I never did, of course. I went and had a drink, and but years later I got sober, and I ended up at this drama school, and I'm sitting there one day, and I realized I'm looking at the prison. I'm looking at where I used to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And, stuff like that was just like, it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
Way more than, people should have it, I think. Lots of strange things happened at that time. I was in a detention centre, Borstal in Hollesley Bay, and I got out from that, and when I went to the drama school, then they said, we want you to check this play out. And so we all get little things to do about this play. It was Brendan Behan, the hostage. And so I went looking at it and found out he was in Hollesley Bay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I went back to the school. I said, what do you want to know? I was there, and which was kind of a shock to them. But yeah. And stuff like that happens all the time with me.
And your sort of adventures in that before prison started in like youth homes and stuff too, right?
Yeah. I was like, it was, no kid gets up in the morning and goes out and starts robbing cars and taking gas meters.
Right.
But it's funny how society just thought that way at that time. They just say, oh yeah, he's a bad boy. Kids don't do that. There's something wrong. And that's what happened. There's sexual abuse and stuff like that. It's not an excuse, but it's a result of that a kid can't handle that kind of stuff and doesn't know, what am I going to do? you know.
Yeah, childhood
So,
trauma.
yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
I agree
so it is,
100%.
yeah. And then you go into a place where it's even worse, you know, than what you're experiencing on the other side. So, you know, it's a endless stream, you know.
Yeah, catch 22.
I knew when by the time I was 13, I knew that when you went to a home or a borscht or any of those places, and it was named after a saint, you're fucked. You know, it's gonna be,
Really?
yeah, brutal. Yeah. Yeah. I was in like a place called Oxenden House, which was the best place I was ever in, and that was no like joy or anything, but yeah, at least they didn't fucking come in, you know, and try to fuck you every night, you know. So
Yeah,
you know,
that's heavy.
so you know, you do what you do, you know, whatever you can to survive, you know, you know, and it makes you angry.
I always found that, like, I mean, when I started, you know, getting incarcerated when I was like 14 or 15, and like, but you know, you just learn more things.
Of course, yeah, it's
know?
an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Was there all that perv shit in that system, Keith?
All that what?
Oh, not where I was, but Horace was younger when he was going into those places.
Yeah. I was like 12. Yeah, that started going around.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
A lot of vicar in a tutu scenarios. Yeah.
It's you know, it's terrible. It really is. And like, here's the worst thing about it: the people I know we've shared, you know, what has happened there. Always think it's their fault.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I even now, I know it's not my fault, but there's still that part of me that goes, and so we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it because it's buried, and we're never going to. But it's affecting you subconsciously. You know, certain actions that you're taking on certain places and certain situations, you'll behave in a certain manner is directly connected to that years ago. You just don't know it. You just haven't found out about it. You know, and like when that starts coming through, you know, you're like, oh man, I've got so much work to do here. You know,
well, not to get too fine a point on it, but when it kind of, I think it could be helpful for people to hear. It's like, when you think about fault, like, what does that mean? That there's something I could have done to change that scenario.
Yeah, or you were responsible.
Or that in some way, right, you're responsible. Yeah. And that is one of the most terrible things about what happens to, you know, kids when any horrible trauma happens to them. You know, any trauma is always a lot of, because you don't understand things like what real guilt is or culpability and those things. So
and like, you know, I remember like it was 2001 or 2, I think my mom was over, and it was the first time I had money to bring her here. And you know, I was very happy about that. And, you know, and she was sitting in the living room one night talking about the wonderful babysitter we had back then, you know, and you can sort of gauge your recovery. And I didn't say anything. And she was a fucking bitch, man. She was like, I was terrified of her. You know, kept getting me upstairs and stuff like that. My brother and sister downstairs wrestling and joking in the front room, and she's upstairs molesting me. And you know, so that was the gauge of like, okay, I'm doing okay now, because I didn't have to say, yeah, you want to know about that bitch? You want to know what she, you know, because I didn't. What's the use of hurting her to ease my, you know, whatever it is, my ego or whatever, you know, just it would serve no purpose at all. So that's when you think, you know, that I thought, okay, I am getting through this. I am recovering. Yeah.
Ego death is a very powerful thing. It is. If you
it's so hard to let go of.
It's so fucking hard, and I wrestle with it every day. But if you can kill the ego, which is almost impossible, but if you could just beat it back on a consistent enough basis,
a little bit,
you can find a certain amount of emotional freedom. Yeah, exactly. What were you going to say, Keith? I'm sorry. Before I jumped in.
Oh no, I mean, kind of the same thing, but it's like kind of what Horace was saying is like, you know, when you're young, you have all this, you know, shame and things like this, you know, so you're trying to cover it up with masculinity and violence and these kind of things, which I believe that's probably why Horace was such a great boxer. You know, when you have like fear-based violence, which is terrifying, you know.
Yeah, that first night in Omaha when I went out, and you got like 7,000 or 8,000 people screaming, and there's like you know, the lights and the stuff like that, and you're walking to the ring, and there's a guy. I didn't even have fucking boxing shoes. I had like fucking trainers on, and like I was just like, oh man, I am so not wanting to be here.
Yeah.
You know, he had like tassels from his fucking shorts, and you know, he's dancing around Walter Mel Holiday, and you know, he was like, and everybody cheering it. Like, so you could have hit me with a Mack truck that night. I wasn't going anywhere. You know, I was just like, you know, so full of fear.
Mike Tyson talks about the same thing, you know.
Oh yeah. And then when you start getting like, you know what you're doing, that fear, you channel it. You know, you can actually move it into your, you know, like psyche and the way you move and everything. You ever watch Mike Tyson in the early days? He's a machine. There's nothing, you know, he's bob and weave, but nobody knew what to do with him. You know,
there was no showboating.
Yeah,
it was all just all of a sudden, just pit bull style. Yeah. Just like I've watched and rewatched, you know, the first 5 years of that dude's career, every fight, and it's still, to me, he's my favorite boxer. It still is to me the most shocking. Like I remember seeing it at the time, you know, on TV live, and just being like, Jesus Christ, I've never seen anyone box like that before. You know, not like that. Like there was
he was certainly the hardest fucking hit I've ever seen. That's for sure.
My goodness.
You know, anybody, you can, if you hit somebody, you know, 240 pounds and their feet leave the fucking canvas, you've been hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, you're getting hit there, man. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. So
also, he used that peekaboo boxing style, so there was no like backing off.
Dude.
You know? And that's what
you know, and plus he didn't, like a lot of boxers will like step in and they'll flow with it. But he was not. He was just rigid. He'd just come in, and somebody tried to push him off, and he'd come some more. It just didn't stop. He was like this machine, you know, that kept coming and coming and coming, and it didn't matter if you hit him or not. You know, he was still coming. You know, it meant nothing. Yeah, it was terrifying. The first time I saw him, oh God, and and the thing that happened to him was, you know, how people get eaten up was, you know, his trainer died. You know,
Gus
and Don King got in there. That guy, you know,
fucking scumbag.
I had a good friend in England. He was a light heavyweight champ of England, John Conte, and he had some stories to tell about, you know, what happened, you know, with Don King and his stuff. He's apparently not a very nice person.
No, that dude's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And how, you know, what's the connect? He had no connection there at all. He wormed himself into these situations, and then you find out that he got no money. You know, boxers aren't there sorting out numbers. They're there to, you know, and you need that person who cares from them, about them, and, you know, looks after them. Is, you know, all that.
You have to have it. It's but and if you think about it, it's in every profession. Like, you could be the greatest doctor, lawyer, whatever, engineer, I don't know, NASA scientist or whatever. You could be a smart dude from MIT, whatever. That doesn't mean you know shit about how to manage your money.
Exactly.
It's a totally different job. Like, the problem with guys who are super successful in one arena is that you get the illusion that applies across all other arenas. You're like, well, I'm the best, so I must be the best across all these things. And next thing you know, that's where you're buying. One of the most incredible stories I ever heard about Mike Tyson was when he would go out with his buddies and go to like the Ducati dealership and just be like, we're going to buy 10 Ducatis, and I want to get 10 outfits that are all dope, like Euro bike outfits, matching. And we're going to go out tonight. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, we're going to go out tonight. It's like a Wednesday, and we're going to go to the club, and you're going to spend $300,000 on motorcycles and leather outfits. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Yeah. I mean, this book, if it wasn't for Kester, this book wouldn't come out. And then I've got another one coming out, this soon. I'm not sure exactly, but we're hoping to get it out before Christmas. And it's the adventures, mostly true adventures, and it's a continuation of this book here, Lessons,
Yeah.
and it's the amazing, mostly true adventures of Horace. And this one is all stories and adventures of that, a misspent youth or exciting and, meaningful times. I mean, we go back to being a little boy, growing up in Ireland, and some of the wonderful and horrible things that happened there, and, then trying to reconcile that as I moved to England and we were reasonably with money and stuff like that. My father had a job, and then we moved to Cricklewood in England, and we were all living in one room all of a sudden with an outside toilet and no water, and it's just like, it's that's what happens.
Keep you on your toes.
And if you come through that, you're okay.
What part of Ireland are you from?
I was born in Dublin.
Okay, got it.
And I grew up in a little place called Bray, County Wicklow.
Got it.
Yeah.
The Irish in my family is from County Cork.
Yeah.
They finally got it all worked out on Ancestry, and I figured it out. But yeah, we're all County Cork, near Leitrim.
Yeah, I knew a few lads from Leitrim.
The one story I've ever heard of Leitrim is a buddy of mine who's from Ireland told me is that on the local news one night they had announced that they had built built a new mental hospital in Dublin, and that was this new facility and everything else. And in other news, they in a similar effort they just put a lid on Leitrim. They just put a roof on Leitrim.
Yeah.
Because supposedly it's just a nut house, and of course, where I'm from,
Well, Cricklewood in those days, you're looking at the late 50s, and England was on a recruitment drive, and they were bringing in the Irish mainly to work on the roads and the building sites. And they were importing a lot of Jamaicans to come and work. They ended up working on the train and, their services, buses and stuff like that. And, the thing was that they weren't welcomed. They were just there to do the shitty jobs, and so there was a lot of no blacks, no Irish. And that's that's just the way it was. And when I first moved into London, that's straight away you were up against it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
fun and games.
What do you got? What else do you got, Keith? Anything?
I think we're pretty good, don't you?
I feel like it. I mean, I'm just, Keith, you read the book. I have not read it, but I read a good, like a descriptor of it online, and I know, but I'm just terribly excited to read it, man. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it.
It's for me, it was the last bogeyman, really, of my low self-esteem and stuff like that. Because, I didn't leave school. I was thrown out, it's like I was expelled. The last two schools I went to, they kicked me out. So
may I ask what were the precipitating events of those quick things?
Stealing, fighting. It was just like I was just running wild, and I was going in at that time. Now I'm like 13, 14. I'm right in the middle of going to boys' homes, detention centers, and all those.
Were you a pick a fight kid, or were you a respond to fight kid?
I was like, if I was challenged, I'd fight.
Got it. Yeah, so respond to fight.
Yeah, but I didn't move away or run from it.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Didn't start off that way when I was first there. But I met some great guys, man. On that, there's a place called Tin Town in Luton, and it was the tops of the houses are actually tin and different colours and stuff. And then like it was the area that mums told their sons not to go into, because there's a lot of bad boys, and it was really just the overspill from London after the war. And it was a rough neighbourhood, and I met a couple of lads from there, and they were like amazing kids. They really, really, really helped me out. The Farr brothers, they were fearless. And at that time, and it's more in this new book coming out, The Adventures, is Luton was a place where they made hats and clothing. So after the war, all these warehouses full of clothes and hats, they'd all shut down. Nobody was buying hats anymore. There's just been a war. So we'd go like skipping across the roofs of these warehouses and stuff. And I ended up falling through the roof one day and landed on all these boxes. We turned up at school the next week with dinner jackets on with a school badge on, because we had to wear a uniform. And,
oh, that's amazing.
That was like the greatest fun, and we'd hide in these boxes, and the night watchman would come round, and we just fucking like drive them insane. They'd bring police. You never catch, 3 little kids hiding in like a warehouse full of boxes. You're not going to find them. We would have so much fun, so much fun with that. And they were good guys. They helped me a lot. I used to go to Saturday morning pictures, and this is like the new book now. And that's where I met them. And they were guys, nobody really hung around with the Irish kids, and I met these guys in line, and they like befriended me, and I was so shocked that they were nice to me, and I ended up sitting with them, and while they were away, 2 kids in front of me hit me in the face, and my face was bleeding and all that, and I didn't tell these guys I was with, because I didn't want to get them, beat up. And when afterwards, I told them, and they said, "Well, fuck, let's go and get them." And I went, "Well, no, there's a lot of them." So these Farr brothers were game for that, man. They went straight around to these guys and said, "Do you hit my friend?" And they were like, "Yeah." So they just tore into them, and it was like, I was like, "Oh, wow." So that was like a real introduction. Like, okay, you got to fight. If you're going to get anywhere here, you're going to have to stand up for it. You can't let people, take your sweets and, take your money and push you around. So, yeah, good guys. And like, there's several stories like that have, like, I think, a spiritual significance, that I look back on now, and it's validated today. That's helped me today. Those things I can actually correlate between my life now and what happened then. What's happening now is a result of that. And that's really that's what keeps me sober. That kind of message that you can bring or say or have yourself in your heart and soul. When that stuff starts coming through, man, welcome it. I was scared of it when when I started putting these things together. I was like, oh, fuck, man, just getting way too spooky. And but you welcome it, man. Well, let it in. You got to let that stuff in. You got to be vulnerable. You got to allow kindness. You got to show you're vulnerable. And all those. And when that stuff happens, more opens. More of this life becomes good. Wonderful. It's like I'm still pretty pissy. I'm still grumpy. I'm still, but it's better. It's better. I there's not the desperation anymore.
Yeah. Damn. Well, that's a wonderful note to.
Life's good, man. Really. If anybody's out there now struggling with this shit, man, you let it happen. The only one who stopped me getting sober was me.
Yeah.
With rules that like I'd fucking pulled out of the sky. There's no remedy about them at all. I went to a sober dance. I was like a month sober, and I went to a sober dance, and this girl was dancing and they invited me to dance. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to look shitty dancing next to her. You know, she's not dancing right. It's like, oh, you don't want to enjoy yourself. That's, you know, who cares what you dance like? But that, to me, at that moment, like, it was like, you know, like I'd been running my life so well that I was scared to dance with other people watching. You know, it's just so ludicrous how I came into, you know, recovery and like had all these rules about my life, which were actually killing me. You know, that's the truth. You know, they were eating me alive. But, you know, it takes time, man. You got to give it a chance.
Yeah.
Tell you. Oh.
Well, I think we're good. Thanks, Horace.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy I got to meet you and hang out with you.
Yeah, great.
So much. That was truly wonderful, man. Thank you very, very much.
One more time. Horace's book is called Lessons. Horace Martin.
Yeah, Lessons, and the new one coming out, the amazing, mostly true adventures of Horace.
Oh, nice. Another one.
Nice. And you can get Lessons on Amazon.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Cool.
Look it up, Horace Martin and Lessons is there. And, you know, the new one's coming out soon. So let's hope for a good year.
Nice. I don't have Amazon stock. That's not why I brought it
Nor
up.
do I.
I'm just saying that during the pandemic, no one's going to bookstores. Are there even bookstores? I think there's one left. And well,
I loved fucking bookstores, man.
no, man, the best thing ever. They were everything when I grew up. They were my nerd heaven. Go to the mall with your mom. She'd have to go get some normal things so that everybody would have clothes and pens and things that we needed, and I'd just get dropped off in the bookstore. It was one of the best.
Like I was in Luton, there was no fucking bookstores at all, and this one shop opened. It was very clean, and it had paperback books, in which nobody had even heard of it then. You know,
yeah.
Go in there, and I read this book by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle called "The Terror of the Blue John Gap," and I was like, "That's even the name of the fucking book, man." It's like, The Terror of the Blue John Gap. I have got to read that. You know, they're just that reading, man. If you're not reading, it's great stuff. Great stuff.
Man.
That saved me time and time again. You know?
Nice.
That's good shit.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to another episode of It's All Bad. What a wonderful time. And Horace,
Thank you so much, guys.
See you guys.
God
all
bless.
right, take care, brother.
Good guy, man.
Hey guys, Russian Danny here. Thanks for listening to another episode of It's All Bad. Please like and subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. You can email us at itisallbadpodcast@gmail.com. We got some merch up for you guys. We got shirts you can order through the Big Cartel. You can find a link on our Instagram as well. And please keep listening. If you want some bonus stories and some extra content, check out our Patreon, and there's some way out shit on there. If you think this is crazy, wait till you hear some of the stories on there. Man. Yeah, peace.